The Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters, is back for another trip below the rim.
It's safe here as long as you stay on the trail.
This time, all the day hikes you can do on what I consider the crown jewel of the Grand Canyon's main trails.
Nothing else like it anywhere in the world.
The majestic, the breathtaking, the jaw-dropping South Kaibab.
When they say the Grand Canyon is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, come to the South Kaibab Trail, you'll understand why.
My name is Brian Special, and I will admit it, I am obsessed with the South Kaibab Trail. To me, it represents the full Grand Canyon experience, whether you only go down a mile or so to Ooh Aah Point or the 6.5 miles all the way down to the river. It is simply spectacular every step of the way. Now, South Kaibab is certainly not as popular as Bright Angel, but that's because of location. Bright Angel is in the heart of Grand Canyon Village and thus much more accessible, while South Kaibab requires a ride on the park's free shuttle bus because private vehicles are not allowed on the road to the trailhead or at the parking lot at the trailhead itself. You can also cut out all the hassle of riding the shuttle by calling the Xanterra taxi, which can pick you up in the village and is allowed to drop you directly at the trailhead. The taxi can absolutely be worth it in the busier times and can easily save you 45 minutes to an hour. Now, before you drop into the canyon from South Kaibab, you will want to make sure you have enough water to last you down to wherever you're going and all the way back up again. There is water available seasonally at the trailhead, but there is no water available anywhere on the actual trail, so water management is essential to having a successful hike. That's another reason Bright Angel can be a better choice for some, as it does have water available seasonally at the 1.5 and 3 mile rest houses, but there is nothing, nada, zilch on South Kaibab, so proceed with caution. Okay, so with that, let's begin the journey to the Colorado River. On this day, I was hiking rim to river late on a summer afternoon by taking South Kaibab to the bottom and then Bright Angel back up to the rim at night to avoid the heat. In a previous episode of the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, I share the specific details of that hike. But this time, the focus is 100% on South Kaibab, with all the hikes you can do in a day by sticking to South Kaibab, and what to expect on each of them. The most popular of those hikes is to Ooh Aah Point, which begins, of course, at the South Kaibab Trailhead.
So going down South Kaibab, first thing you're going to do is go down a steep set of switchbacks called the Chimney. They're steep, but they're short. In the wintertime, they're probably going to be iced in. You're going to need traction for your shoes, micro spikes, in order to deal with the ice because it stays shaded and icy here just about all winter long.
Now, if you're hiking in the wintertime, micro spikes are typically enough to give you all the traction you need. I use Kahtoola Exo Spikes, which can easily fit right over my trail running shoes and give me plenty of grip on the ice and the snow. I also like supporting Kahtoola because they're an Arizona company, but their products really are fantastic. When you get to the bottom of the chimney, you'll no doubt notice the iconic warning sign that the Park Service has posted in several spots on the corridor trails. On it, you'll see a man on all fours, clearly overcome by heat and vomiting violently. That is Victor Vomit.
Yeah, that sign is about as graphic as the National Park Service will ever get, and there's a reason for it. So many people, when you're going down into the canyon, it feels easy, right? You're going downhill. It's a mountain upside down. So the hard work, the real hard work, doesn't come until you go back up. So people overestimate their abilities, and they go down, and before they know it, they've gone too far, and you still have to go back out. So the big saying in the canyon, slippery too. The big saying in the canyon is that going down is optional. Going up is mandatory. So people get themselves into all kinds of trouble in the canyon all year round. So the National Park Service tries so hard, the rangers do, to let people know that this is no joke. This is no walk in the park, so to speak. This is a dangerous, serious hike that you have to be in very good physical condition to do. This is a bucket list hike for a lot of people. There's so much preparation that so many people do. But then again, there are also tourists who come. They're here for the day. They don't understand the dangers of the canyon. So they start going downhill. Before they know it, they've gone too far. Next thing you know, they can't get back out. They run out of water. They become overheated. And you've got a rescue situation on your hands. the National Park Service has to send rescue parties down, helicopters down to airlift people out. They don't like doing it, but sometimes this is a life and death situation in the canyon. It's not something to be taken lightly. And that sign, Victor Vomit, as it's so affectionately known, is there to let people know what you're doing is dangerous. You better be careful because they don't want to come down and rescue you. Again, going down is optional. Coming up is mandatory. Take it seriously.
All right, the first mile of South Kaibab, you'll see the canyon is off in the distance a bit. Still beautiful, but nothing compared to what you're about to see. The first stop, and what many come to the canyon for, is Ooh Aah Point. Ooh Aah is just a shade less than a mile down, and you've descended almost 800 feet when you get there. What you'll see is hard to describe, but it's the first time you get those iconic panoramic views of the Grand Canyon. Ooh Aah can get crowded at sunrise, but if you keep going a little bit farther, the views are just as good, if not better. So Ooh Aah is your first chance to turn around, just under 2 miles round trip with 790 feet of elevation loss that you'll, of course, have to regain on the way back up.
Ooh Aah Point is a place where a lot of people stop and they turn around. That's a good day hike for a lot of people. It's about a mile down, a mile back up, so it's 2 miles round trip. You lose and then gain a lot of elevation, so it can be a strenuous hike, especially in the summer months when it's super hot. You might not have enough water, and there's no place to refill your water anywhere on the South Kaibab Trail. So that's a good place for a lot of people to stop. You want to go a little bit farther for a day hike. Cedar Ridge is another good option, and that's next in about half a mile, about a mile and a half total from the trailhead.
Now, it's between Ooh Aah and Cedar Ridge that just might be my favorite place in the entire canyon. The views are just unbeatable, and I'd argue even laughable. Seriously.
So we just had Ooh Aah Point, and before we get to Cedar Ridge, I call this kind of like ha-ha point. And the reason I do that, I tell people all the time that I literally will start laughing out loud several times during this hike on South Kaibab because the views are just so incredible. And this is the first one that kind of just knocks your socks off. I mean, just look at this. This is why this is the greatest trail that there is. This is to me, the best trail in the Grand Canyon that I've been on. The main corridor trails, this is the best one. It's because there are views like this the entire way on South Kaibab. They never stop from the time you get to Ooh Aah Point until essentially the time you're at the river. They never stop. It's just this spectacular the entire way. That's why South Kaibab is it, guys. If you're gonna hike one trail in the Grand Canyon, this is the one to do it. It's just, it's laughable. Amazing.
Now, this absolute gift of a trail might never have even been built had it not been for greed. You see, when the National Park Service gained control of the Grand Canyon in 1919, Bright Angel was the only trail to the bottom. The problem for the Park Service was that Bright Angel was privately owned by a man named Ralph Cameron, who charged a toll to anyone who wanted to use it. Well, the Park Service finally got fed up with trying to work with Cameron, so in 1924, they got to work on a new trail. And what is now the South Kaibab Trail was opened in 1925. Bright Angel finally came under the control of the Park Service in 1928. Now, as much of an engineering marvel as South Kaibab is, it's not a smooth path by any means, which is something you need to be physically and mentally prepared for.
One thing you got to be really careful about when you're going down South Kaibab and Bright Angel, for that matter, is the steps. There's big steps the whole way down. You're kind of not walking on a smooth path. You're stepping up and down constantly, and inside those steps, it's not level. There are actually ruts that are caused by the mule trains that go down here every single day. They take these trails down to the bottom of the canyon to Phantom Ranch, taking tourists down there and also taking supplies down to Phantom. So it creates a more of an uneven environment. It is so easy to twist your ankle and really ruin your hike if you're not careful. So it's easy to be looking up and looking around while you're doing this, but if you don't watch your step, you can twist an ankle really easily, and that can change your hike in a hurry.
Now, that is definitely me speaking from experience. A twisted ankle can lead to a very, very long day in the canyon. All right, our next stop and a good turnaround point is Cedar Ridge, which is 1.5 miles from the top. Cedar Ridge is a large area with plenty of space to find your own spot to enjoy the views. There are also pit toilets here, but of course, no drinking water. Now, if Cedar Ridge is it for you, hey, great job. You've seen the best of the canyon views, and by the time you get back to the trailhead, you'll have hiked 3 miles and regained those 1,140 feet on the way back up.
So that was Cedar Ridge, another great turnaround point for a day hike. That's about 1.5 miles from the South Kaibab Trailhead. So a 3-mile round trip, losing and gaining a lot of elevation. So it's a strenuous hike. Good place for a lot of folks to turn around. You've had a great day. You really get the, almost a full Kaibab experience, the full Grand Canyon experience when you hike down South Kaibab to Cedar Ridge. The views the rest of the way are pretty much the same. They're iconic. They're unbelievable. But you really accomplish something by going to Cedar Ridge. So that's a 3-mile round trip, day hike. It's a good place to turn around, or you can get adventurous if you're up for it, trained for it, and you go down to Skeleton Point, which is the next stopping point, 1.5 miles in that direction.
The Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show is brought to you by Bright Angel Outfitters, a company my wife and I founded that's mission is to help you have the best possible hiking experience in the Grand Canyon and beyond through our free content like this show and our YouTube channel, and products born out of my own experience below the rim. When I was doing my first rim-to-river and rim-to-rim hikes, I was really trying to figure out what worked and what didn't work for me, especially when it came to backpacks. I went through a whole bunch of them, including lightweight running vests. The thing I loved about those vests was the front pockets. I found I didn't like stopping to take my pack off every time I wanted a snack or to grab something else, but running vests don't have that much storage space, as they're more for ultramarathoners and long-distance trail runners. So, over hundreds of miles in the canyon, I developed our flagship Rim to Rim pack, which is a 22-liter pack that has plenty of storage capacity for anything you need on a long day hike. It's been perfect for me on rim to rims and even my recent rim to rim to rim. The Rim to Rim pack is lightweight and simple. It features a fully insulated pocket for your water reservoir and other snacks that you want to keep cool. And of course, our front pack straps, which include 3 pouches on the front of the shoulder straps. Yeah, on the very front, so you can carry a water bottle, snacks, your phone, or anything else you want to keep easily accessible. The Rim to Rim pack is perfect for any hike, whether it's in the canyon or beyond, because after all, if it can survive in the canyon, it can survive anywhere. The Rim to Rim pack from Bright Angel Outfitters is coming soon. All right, back to South Kaibab. One thing that's asked a lot about hiking in the canyon is, hey, I'm afraid of heights, so is it dangerous? Well, sure, there are drop-offs, but are they something to worry about?
I really don't think there's anything to be afraid of on the trails in terms of potential falls. The trails are wide, they're well maintained, and that goes for all the corridor trails, not just South Kaibab, but also Bright Angel and North Kaibab as well when you go up to the North Rim. The trails are, 4 to 6 feet wide the entire way down, well maintained. There are steep drop-offs in places that are right next to the trail, but as long as you stay on the trail, you are fine. And when it comes to those steep drop-offs, just go to the side of the trail that hugs the canyon wall. You're going to be fine. There's really nothing to worry about. It's safe here as long as you stay on the trail. Don't let a fear of heights keep you from an iconic bucket list experience, because there is nothing better than this hike as far as I'm concerned. I'm in love with the canyon, and you have a lot more to be afraid of when it comes to not being prepared and overexerting yourself and things you can control. Running out of water, dehydration, heat exhaustion. Those are the things you have to worry about much more than taking a bad step and falling to your death off the side of the Grand Canyon. Stay on the trail, nothing to worry about.
Now, one thing you should worry about on South Kaibab and all the Grand Canyon trails beneath the rim is the beating your legs are taking on the way down. It's easy on the way down to be seduced into thinking how easy this hike is, so you might get going faster than you should. As we continue the downhill towards Skeleton Point, I'm reminded of the first time I descended South Kaibab and the lesson that stuck with me ever since. It's one I hope you don't have to learn the hard way as I did.
I did not use poles. I didn't know any better. So I was going down, it was easy. You're going downhill, woohoo, making great time, doing a little, shuffling, jogging on the way down, enjoying the views, not realizing that because it's an upside down mountain, the Grand Canyon, that's what they like to say, because you go down first and then up, what you're doing is you are killing your knees and your joints. At least that's what I found. So by the time I got to the bottom, I was like, uh-oh, my legs were killing me. Hamstrings, quads, knees, feet, ankles, everything in the lower body, hip. It was a bad scene, and I knew I still had to hike out. So the hike out, because of that, became a little bit of a death march. It was tough. I was toast. My legs were toast. I had ruined them essentially on the way down because I didn't know any better. So in all the hikes I've done since, careful going too fast, and always, always, always use pulse. That's what I follow every time.
The next milestone at South Kaibab comes at Skeleton Point. Here, we're 3 miles from the trailhead and have descended over 2,000 vertical feet. This is what the Park Service warns should be the limit for day hikes. There are no toilets at Skeleton Point, just great views in every direction, though they aren't really much different than they are at Cedar Ridge, though you can get your first glimpse of the Colorado River, which is still 3.5 miles and about 2,800 vertical feet away.
So that's about as far as most people go on an out and back day hike on South Kaibab. That's a huge hike, six miles round trip. Rugged, rough, a lot of elevation loss, a lot of elevation gain on the way back up. And you do have to go back up. Remember that. It's a mountain upside down, the Grand Canyon is. It means you have to go down first, and then you have to do the hardest part second. So it can be tough. But Skeleton Point's another good place to turn around.
If you do continue on, you're about to hit the steepest, most grueling section so far, the red and white switchbacks, which get their name because they descend through the canyon's red wall section to what's called the Tonto Platform. The red and whites fall more than 400 vertical feet in less than half a mile.
Big set of switchbacks coming up right here. These are the red and white switchbacks. And you can see they're no joke. Long way down. When you're coming up this thing, these can hurt. These are some serious switchbacks right here. Probably the most serious ones on the entire trail.
It's only when we get to the bottom of the red and whites that we're halfway to the river. From here, the trail becomes less steep with no more switchbacks for the next mile or so to the Tipoff, which sits at the very tip of the Tonto Platform and overlooks the canyon's inner gorge, at the bottom of which is the mighty Colorado.
Next stop is Tipoff. Tipoff is about 2 miles from the river. And we're making progress. South Kaibab Trail, I'm going to say it again and again. There is nothing else like it anywhere in the world. When they say the Grand Canyon is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, which it is, you come to the South Kaibab Trail, you'll understand why. Spectacular. Breathtaking. There are no words. There are no photos. There are no video clips that do justice to how spectacular this trail is and what the views are like the entire way down.
All right, I mean, geez, have you figured out that I'm a fan of South Kaibab by now? Goodness. All right, at Tipoff, we have descended just over 4.5 miles and lost more than 3,000 feet of elevation. There are toilets here, last chance until the bottom, and a shelter with benches where you can grab some shade. There's also an emergency phone here just in case. Just below Tipoff, we are in the inner gorge, where you'll see some steep drop-offs just off the trail, and you'll also see the end of the descent come into sight for the very first time.
If you look down here, where it's such a huge drop-off, this is just off the trail, it's a huge drop-off right here. I'm not going to get too close. You can see and actually hear the Colorado for the first time roaring along down there. This strip of green right here is where Bright Angel Campground is. And then just up around the corner, just a little bit from there, is where Phantom Ranch is.
You'll also be taken here by the steepness of what's left. Now, you often hear folks talk about how much more difficult South Kaibab is than Bright Angel. And when you run the numbers, this is the main reason why. While Bright Angel is longer, those extra couple of miles are because of a more gentle ascent to Havasupai Gardens, which, like Tipoff on South Kaibab, is on the same level as the Tonto Platform, about 3,000 feet below the rim. So where South Kaibab gets you is on its initial ascent from the river to Tipoff, which is where we are right now. From the Tipoff up, it's really about the same in terms of elevation gain, mileage, and difficulty as Bright Angel.
Got our first look at the Black Bridge down there. It's a very steep switchbacks, which is how this whole hike finishes. It started with steepness, it ends with steepness as we make our way down to Black Bridge. See it down there? You see the switchbacks leading to it, the sun setting. I mean, it's spectacular. Awesome. It's just an iconic hike, guys.
Yep, there I go again. All right, what is the best time of day to hike South Kaibab? Well, much of it is dependent on the time of year. South Kaibab essentially follows ridge lines all the way down, so it is exposed to direct sunlight and there is very little shade. In the cooler months, that's no problem, but in the warmer months, you have to be strategic. To most, that means starting before sunrise, so you're finished before the heat of the day. But for me, it means I'm not on the trail until very late in the afternoon.
All right, just about down there. We've just about made it down to the Colorado and the end of the South Kaibab Trail. It's been so much fun. I love sharing the canyon with everyone and hope that everyone gets as passionate about it as I do, honestly. I'm lucky because I live in Phoenix, so this is it's a 3.5 hour drive, including a stop for lunch in Flagstaff, from the time I left home to the time I got to the parking lot. So I can be up here in about 3.5 hours, and then home in about 3.5 hours. Tonight I'll get home at about 2 o'clock in the morning. There's Black Bridge, where we're headed. We're almost there. You might be wondering why I'm hiking so late in the afternoon. Well, this is August in Arizona in the Grand Canyon. It gets so hot here. The temperature at the bottom is roughly the same as it is in Phoenix. That's a good rule of thumb. You can check the weather in Phoenix. If it's going to be 115 in Phoenix, which it was many, many days this summer, then the temperature at Phantom Ranch, the bottom of the canyon, is going to be about exactly the same, within a few degrees. So it's about 15 to 20 degrees cooler at the top, and it just gets hotter as you descend this 4,800 feet, almost a mile in elevation from the South Rim to the Colorado. So I hike late in the day in the summertime, and then I hike out in the dark. I'll hike up Bright Angel tonight in the dark. I'll do a video on that someday. You guys can see what night ops are like. But I prefer doing it that way. Most people will leave South Kaibab 3-4 o'clock in the morning before the sun comes up, and then they hike out Bright Angel, getting out mid to late morning. I don't like that because it is scorching hot with the sun just beating down on you the entire way up Bright Angel, the hardest part of the hike. So I found the best way to do it is to leave South Kaibab Trailhead late in the afternoon, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, depending on how much sun you got, and hike down the easiest part of the hike, which is going down, and the least strenuous part of the hike is going down. So I like to hike down when it's like that, and you get to enjoy all the views. There's really nobody on the trail. It's empty. And then you get to the bottom, and then the hard work begins, but it's getting dark, or it already is dark. So it's the coolest part of the day, going into the coolest part of the evening, and it's just so much more pleasant. And I don't mind hiking out at all in the dark. Just put your lamp on and get to work, and it's honestly a little easier because you don't have to look up and see how far you have to go, because it's a long 10-mile hike out and going up, about 4,400 feet to the South Rim Grand Canyon Village at the end of Bright Angel Trail. So that's why I hike in the time of the day that I do, in the middle of summer in Arizona. It's really the only time that I think you can do this hike, because otherwise it's too hot. Middle of the day, do not ever do it, because it is so dangerous. It's so hot. People underestimate it all the time. People pass away. We've had at least, I think, 2 people have passed away on the trails this summer, just from the heat exhaustion. If you come from a place where you're not used to Arizona heat, you get yourself in a lot of trouble. So do this preferably in the best times of the year, which are October, November, anytime when there's not snow on the ground. And even when there's snow on the ground at the at the south rim, it's not bad down here. You'll get below the snow line 1, 2, 3 miles. Take your micro spikes off, and then you just got a normal hike. And it's not bad hiking in snow and ice as long as you got the proper foot traction. So that's the best time of the year to do it. The heat is just brutal. It's no time to be doing this. But that's why I like to do it in late afternoon, evening, and then hike out at night in the dark. It's awesome. I feel like it's a Grand Canyon hack, honestly. I can't believe more people don't do it. But don't tell anybody. Just kidding. I hope everyone does it, because I want people to have the same passion and love for the Grand Canyon that I do. This place is amazing. It never gets old. I mean, people say that all the time. It's so cliche, but it never gets old. This place it's pure magic. And I hope you get to experience it sometime. All right, there's the Black Bridge right there. I've been chatting a long time. Almost to Black Bridge. We get down there and go through that tunnel that you see right there. I'll turn the camera back on, across the river, and send you guys on your way. And I'm gonna get to work.
All right, you'll know you're at the river when you see a long tunnel to walk through. At the end of it, you're on the Kaibab Suspension Bridge, also known simply as the Black Bridge. The Black Bridge was built in 1928 and is another engineering marvel. Every piece of material, including the 550-foot-long cables that hold the bridge up, were transported by mules or men on foot. This was the only bridge that crossed the Colorado for hundreds of miles inside the canyon until the Silver Bridge was built a half-mile downriver in the 1960s.
So there it is, guys. We did it. We made it all the way to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. South Kaibab Trail. 6.3 miles to get to the Black Bridge. 4,800 feet of elevation that we lost. Almost a full mile straight down. We're at the Colorado. This is basically the end of the South Kaibab Trail.
Now, from the bottom, there are several options. You're either turning around and heading back up on South Kaibab, heading downriver to cross the Silver Bridge to head up Bright Angel, spending the night at Phantom Ranch or Bright Angel Campground, or if you're doing a rim-to-rim, continuing past Phantom Ranch for 13 and a half more miles on the North Kaibab Trail to the North Rim. All right, so that is what the magnificent South Kaibab Trail has to offer. Day hikes of 2 miles round trip to Ooh Aah Point, 3 miles round trip to Cedar Ridge, or 6 miles round trip to Skeleton Point. Day hikes not recommended beyond Skeleton, but if you're sure you're prepared, they are certainly doable. Just remember that the farther down you go, the farther you're going to have to climb on the way back out. All right, well, we hope you learned something about South Kaibab in this episode. If this podcast helped you, we would be very grateful if you would subscribe and give us a rating or review on whatever platform you're listening. That helps us fulfill our mission of helping as many people as we can have the best possible experience at the Grand Canyon. If you like our content, you can also find us across social media. Just look for @GrandCanyonHikerDude on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. That'll do it for this time. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you to hike the canyon. Take that first step, embrace the journey, and hike your own hike. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.